This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and good to have your company this morning here on Good Morning Uganda Extra. Thank you very much for making your time. We are glad that you are with us. From the time we started 6:30, and for those who are just joining us, we are going into a conversation that involves all of us, or that will grab the attention of you, my viewer. And definitely I'll be also opening the lines up, not for the phone calls though, but for your views and comments via WhatsApp and SMS on a conversation that is driving into the wake of the anti-corruption demonstrations. They seem to be going silent, but not silent practically, because many of those who are still on social media seem to be continuing with their hashtags and preaching the message against corruption and the misuse of public funds. Now, the past few weeks in the country have been rocked by protests and demonstrations. The first was the youth of Uganda mixed up with the millennials as well as the Gen Zs of the same country who had decided to march to Parliament. And they were marching to Parliament simply because of what they believe was lack of accountability when it comes to how members of Parliament and different individuals within the government are misusing the funds that are meant to serve the interests of their voters or the entire country. Now, besides that, just a week ago, the medical interns on the other side of things also joined their own struggle in regards to marching and protesting or going on a demonstration against delayed deployment and also those who missed out on being deployed in the different medical facilities in the country. And as a matter of fact, this very week, the medical interns decided to march to Parliament, not all of them, but a section of some of the medical interns, questioning the misuse and also questioning why the priorities of the country are elsewhere, yet the medical interns are not having job placements. But besides that, you also get to look at the other side of things. The traders, because our conversation is an economic one this morning, the traders have this year rocked the element of demonstration, one they had already threatened. And in May, if you remember, in the month of April, there was a time the protesters or the protests in Kampala or the Central Business District saw traders close down their businesses for close to 6 days. And on the 7th of May, 2024, they happened to meet the president at the Kololo ceremonial grounds. There was a scheduled meeting that was supposed to be happening on the 31st. As two of the other meetings or the previous meetings had been postponed. Now on the 31st, it did not happen. They again decided to demonstrate. Now the question is, of what impact do these demonstrations have on our economy? And what does it imply on the economic stability of our country? It is a conversation that we are looking at, and you, our viewer, are highly invited. For the traders, everyone in the economy of the country, and well, the entire country really, because we are taxpayers, we contribute greatly to the economy. My guest this morning is the Executive Director of Siatini, Ms. Jen Nalunga, joining us this morning to have more of the conversation. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Sonko.
And good to have you once again here.
I'm also happy to be here to discuss this issue.
Okay. And, you know, looking at the demonstrations that have been rocking the country, they have not been as violent, I should say, like the ones we saw in Kenya, because when you look at the impact they also had on the economy, were also high, the Kenyan economy. And in the long run, during the demonstrations in Kenya, you also realize the Uganda House was burnt. Now the Ministry of Foreign Affairs yesterday tabled a 6 billion supplementary budget for that particular matter. Let's get into the demonstrations in Uganda first. Okay. When you look at these demonstrations, the impact.
Okay. You have clearly pointed out, good morning our viewers, and I'm really happy to be here. You have given a very good background about the various demonstrations and protests which are going on by the Gen Zs, the millennials, but also the alphas and everybody, by the way, is part of this protest. When you look at what's happening on Twitter, X, what's happening on a number of WhatsApp groups, there is a lot of disappointment about what's going on in the country. But you have asked about, one, the impact on the economy. Of course, all these protests have had an impact on the economy. They have ripple effects, for example, on tourism, on closure of business, that also affect our economy. And even because even when we are borrowing, by the way, because every country is rated, whether a country is risky or for investors, even our rating, credit rating is affected. So the demonstrations have affected our economy in so many ways. But I think we need to look at, those are the effects, but I think we need to look at the deeper causes of these demonstrations. What's causing the demonstrations? And because the demonstrations are a symptom of something which has gone wrong. And I think we need to address that. We need to look at what has gone wrong, you know, because it's like when you have a disease, you know, if it's not diagnosed properly, you are going to get a wrong treatment.
Yes.
So even where we are now, we need to be able to see what has gone wrong with our economy.
Ms. Jen, when we look into one of the main reasons behind where we are today, you do realize that many of the traders, for the traders side of things, it is to do with IFRIS and the increased taxes. And some of the traders are also say that when you look at how much the taxman is squeezing them to pay taxes, and yet their taxes are not being handled well, it poses a question there. And then when it comes to the young people, they feel many are unemployed, and their representatives in parliament, instead of raising their voices, are instead misusing the money for personal benefits and gains. Now, with that kind of background onto where we are with these demonstrations, you get to realize that it looks like there is a section of the country that is not happy.
That's true. That's true.
And now, building onto it, with the economy status of this country, one again may wonder, how do we deal with these circumstances?
Okay. You know, when you look at, like you have said, you look at the traders. IFRIS, by the way, is not a tax.
Yes,
and
true.
we have been talking about it. It's a system,
that is supposed to monitor the tax.
To monitor and to pay the taxes. But the whole issue is around the taxes. One, they are paying taxes, and that they feel those taxes are too many. The burden is too big. But then it's also the usage of that money. When we go to the young people who are protesting, it's also about having no jobs. But on the other hand, there is a lot of misuse of resources, you know, perceived misuse of resources. You look at the interns, again, it's the same thing. You know, they are no placement. There is no budget for them to do their internships. So at the end of the day, we are looking at an economic problem which has turned into a social problem. We are looking, on one hand, the high taxes. They might not be very high, by the way, but it's because the economy has contracted. Look at the people in our traders in Nakasero, in in Chikubo, and some of them have closed shop. It's because there are even no customers. On one hand, the businesses are not moving.
Because
on
I
the
wanted to
other
know,
hand,
because I
they
also
have
wanted to
pay.
know, when you look at these demonstrations, let's look at the impact it has on the businesses and on the trade, the entire supply chain here. Because we are now looking at people closing their shops, and Ugandans are not even bothered. But in the long run, we are now feeling the effect.
Why aren't they bothered? People
Some
are
are
bothered.
not. Some seem not to be bothered, especially those who are benefiting off the systems.
Okay. Yeah, this is what I was saying, that the business community, they are closing shops not because they want to. They want to close their shops.
Okay.
No, everybody wants to work and get an income, but because they are in a tight spot, you know, and they know, maybe they think that when they push harder, those problems will be solved by government. So we are looking at a situation where the economy has really contracted. There are no buyers, people are not buying. But on the other hand, the traders have to pay rent, you know, and I hear they pay rent in dollars, they have to pay taxes. So the situation is not good on that side. You know, we look at the young people. There was a report by Bank of Uganda which came out. Bank of Uganda, all WUBOS, that we have the people in employment.
It was
Uganda
actually the central bank.
Central
Bank of
Bank,
Uganda,
okay.
yes.
22.8 million people, the employed people, but only 1% earn 1 million and above, and 50% of those people earn 150,000 Uganda shillings, and that's the situation where we are. How do you expect somebody to survive? So you look at that situation where the economy, people are struggling, people are suffering, young people have no jobs, you know, and you look at, on the other hand, the opulence, the misuse of resources, you know. So it's like those contradictions. But then also you look at another scenario where when the young people rise up to talk about, to demonstrate against corruption, they are hit hard, you know. So that's the situation we are in, and it's not a good situation.
Okay. And I wanted to know, when you look at the external factors or the external funders, with these demonstrations, how impactful, or of what impact does it have on our image from the side of the external factors, the external pull factors that are directly impactful on our economy? I
don't know what you talk when you say external funders, because there has been the people saying that there are people funding the demonstrations.
No, I'm looking at I'm looking at.
But that one is not right.
No, okay.
There is nobody, you know. There is nobody should tell you that you are not happy. You know, you don't have a job. Go and demonstrate. No, you know. And by the way, if people have jobs, like now you have a job here, you are here doing your work. Can you leave your job and go and demonstrate?
No.
No. You know, people are demonstrating because they have no jobs, you know. So let us create the jobs. Okay. So there is no way, there is no way to say that people are being funded to go on the street. So what were you asking?
No, I was looking at a situation where, for example, in the tourism sector, besides the external factors, the external funders, let's look at these external factors. The tourism players over the past few weeks have been sharing that the more Ugandans hit the streets to demonstrate, it has an effect on the numbers that are coming in, because tourists feel they can't be coming in a country which seems to have violent kind of ups and downs, according to the players. Now, when you put it into the perspective of the demonstrations, are there other sectors that are directly affected by these other, you know, foreigners or foreign investors that seem to find an opportunity or potential in putting their money here?
Yeah. Nobody wants to invest in a country which is volatile. you know, even if you have your money, you know, and there are demonstrations, the future is uncertain, you don't want to invest your money there. So automatically the demonstrations are affecting the economy, affecting the perception of investors, affecting tourism, you know, because when you are tourist, you know, you sit and say, where should I go? You want to go and enjoy your life, you know, you not to be caught in between demonstrations. But what we need to look at is the long term, you know, like I said, we need to, because if the situation is not addressed, whether the demonstrations are done today or tomorrow, they will be done in the future, you know. So we need to address that problem today, so that the tourists can come.
Let's first build a picture for my viewer, Madam Jen. How vulnerable is our economy on shocks like corruption? And how more vulnerable does it get when these scandals continue? Okay.
How vulnerable is our economy? Our economy is very, very vulnerable, even to these disturbances, but also to other shocks. Even climate change is affecting our economy. And for me, I think we need to go back on how to address our economy if we are to address all these challenges. And our economy, as you see it, you know, it's based mainly on production, agricultural production, a production which is based on smallholder farmers using a hoe, and based on the weather. Is it going to rain? Like now we are waiting for the rain. They are telling us it's going to come in August. We are waiting. This is how we grow our coffee. This is how we grow our cocoa, our maize, our beans. And I think people should be, especially our leaders, should be aware of what kind of economy we have. Especially those leaders who are living a very opulent life, building big mansions, driving big cars. That's the kind of economy we have, where we are exporting coffee, where we are exporting maize, beans, where we are exporting our children, you know, as labor. That's the economy we have. Okay? That's the economy we have. And that's why, because we are not, our economy, that agriculture, is not linked to industrialization. Because when you look at the nature of our industries, we have industrial parks. These industrial parks are not linked to our production. Let me give you an example. Recently, some time back, we had a program on another media channel where we are talking about cassava. The people in the East had grown a lot of cassava and there was no market, you know. But they are industrial zones. They are not adding value to cassava. Yet we are importing starch. You go and look at the starch we are importing. And we can be able to make from cassava, make starch, and be able to use it in the pharmaceutical industry. There we can be able to create jobs for our young people, but also increase production and productivity and be able to export value-added products. That's how we can be able to grow our economy. That's what we need to grow our economy. But for today, we are importing all these things from China, the tables, whatever is in Chikubo, and that's why we are running a trade deficit, very high trade deficit, because we are sending bags of coffee, maybe some gold, here we'll send gold also, but we are sending bags of coffee. You send a bag of coffee, you get from a bag of coffee, you import just a tablet, you know, that unequal exchange, you know, and we can't create jobs We can't create jobs like that. And if there are no jobs, and that's why what I was telling my friends in Kasita, you know, that when you are demonstrating, think about the entire economy. Because even if they reduce a little tax when there are no people buying your products, the economy, you are going to remain in problems, and you will continue demonstrating. When you go to Chikubo, you can do a research and look at the faces in the shops. Every day, every 3 months, faces are changing because there are no people buying, you know. People are they sell their small land, come to Chikubo, get a small shop, start working. After 3 months, they are gone because everything is gone. So for me, I think all these issues, one is to be able to see how we utilize the little resources we have. Because the challenge we have today is also how we are using the little resources we have. The resources which we get from our taxes, and the resources which we borrow, because we are indebted.
All right.
So how do we use our resources?
Now the bigger question as well has been, is there political will in order to fight corruption? Now, over the past few months, you've come across various criticisms where most of the politicians in the country have been criticized for misusing funds, and others being referred to as thieves in the long run by many of their voters. Now, the most recent observation as well from Parliament is that not all the members of Parliament are agreeing to the regional sittings of Parliament. When we do return after the break, we have a conversation rotating around the will for the politicians to put an end to the corruption scandals and also open room for economic stability in the country. Are they willing to look at the situation in Uganda's economy rather differently from the way it is being politicized? More of that is a conversation we are returning with. Stick around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Uganda, are you ready to kick things up to the next level? The Uganda National Lottery brings you Sports Take 10. Predict the results of 10 football games and win big. With tickets at only 500 shillings, join the fun and make your predictions count with Sports Take 10. Sports Take 10, your ticket to football glory.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win. Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Once upon a time, there lived identical twins who gave birth to beautiful princes and princesses.
Their mothers gave their babies' bodies a lot of care by applying on their skin with baby Junior jelly.
So dried their chariots and everyone would admire their glowing skin. Fun fact, baby Junior prevents diaper rash, dry and sensitive
Moms
skin.
all over Africa love baby Junior jelly. Baby Junior's the skin. No more worries anymore. Boo, 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 boo. Baby Junior.
Baby Junior.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What
should do? Just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
All right, we'll be back from the break, and I'm seeing some comments coming in. I will be reading some of those as we are winding up, but please don't make phone calls. Let's get into the conversation. I have mentioned something about our politicians and their will to combat or put an end to corruption. And it does seem like they contradict in one way or the other. A member of parliament who would be out there today speaking against corruption, when it sits in his favor, will be silent. So they say. When it comes to the issue to do with the economy of our country today, how can we enhance the political will so that most of our politicians can start looking at the economy from an economic lens instead of looking at it from a political point of view?
Okay. I think the issue of political will and also as an issue of Ugandans moving together, it's still a challenge, and I think it's because we are not clear as Ugandans what's our goal, you know, what's our specific goal. We have the National Development Plan with clear goals, but I think we have failed as Ugandans to know exactly what do we want to achieve, how do we get out of poverty, how do we grow our economy, what needs to be done. Because, you know, they say if you don't know, if you don't have a clear destination, any destination is good enough. You can do anything and celebrate whatever you want to celebrate. So we are not clear that this is what we want to do and this is where we should be putting our money. So you find we are putting monies everywhere. We need to be clear that we want to grow our economy, we want to industrialize, to grow, to increase our production and productivity. And we need to know that these are the things which we need to do, but we have failed to do that. And that's why there are things which are coming out of Parliament, which are unbelievable. Here we are, people are struggling, the schools are falling down, the hospitals have challenges, and it isn't that our leaders don't see what's going on. Everything is on WhatsApp. The other day there was a school, even now on WhatsApp in, is it Rubiri, somewhere there, it's falling down. And our leaders are talking about spending, is it 5 billion, you know, to go and sit somewhere and taking parliament to the people. But we already have our members of parliament. In fact, Uganda is the most governed country because members of parliament, RDCs, all those people are there, you know. So why are we spending all that money? You know, so for me, I think where we are now, we need to understand that our resources are very limited. The resources from the taxes are limited. We are indebted, heavily indebted. I will talk to that further, heavily indebted. So we need to let our leaders, our members of parliament, first absorb that situation, you know, that we are an indebted country, we have no resources. Then they will be able to look at whatever little money we have and be able to assess that whatever we do, we need to assess value for money. Is it value for money? Do we need it, or do we just want it? You know, is it going to contribute to growing our economy, to putting food on people's tables, to providing decent jobs for our people? So for each coin, what we are going to use it for, we need to ask ourselves so many questions. And this is the disconnect we are talking about. The traders are saying the taxes are too much. Businesses are not moving. Parliament is saying we are going to spend money, we are going to do this. You know, then you wonder
where are our priorities?
Where our priorities. And today, I think what people need, especially the young people, is hope for our leaders to listen, you know, and for people to say, yeah, things are going to change, you know, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that it is not the train coming, but we are getting out of the tunnel. That hope, that's what I'm requesting for our leaders to give to our young people, you know. And it's very few steps saying, let us do ABCD, let us do that. Let me give you an example, Mr. Sonko. On coffee. You know, coffee is really the mainstay of our economy. The European Union put in place a directive, the deforestation directive, that if you are going to bring your coffee to the European Union, by the way, we send almost our coffee, almost 70% of our coffee to the European Union, Italy and all those countries. They told us, if you are going to bring your coffee here, you have to show us that you haven't deforested, that you haven't cut down trees.
Because they want to address the climate change.
And they are talking about net zero by so much and all that.
So they need to trace and see, where are you growing this coffee?
That's the traceability. And they are almost saying you are guilty unless you show evidence that you haven't cut down trees. And don't tell us that, no, for us we didn't cut, for us we grow trees even within our coffee. No, show. So that's what they call the traceability. And UCDA needs only 35 billion to be able to do that. They gave them 13 billion only. But come January, things might change, you know. But here we are, UCDA doesn't have the money. Doesn't have the money. Yet coffee is our major export. Then you wonder where our priorities, you know, where our priorities. So when we talk about political will and all that, I think we need to, there are things where we need to go back on the drawing board as a country, be able to look at where do we want to be in 5, 20, 10 years time, and be able to look at incrementally what needs to be done. What can we do away with? Even Parliament, you know, do we need such a huge Parliament really? You know?
557.
Do we? And that Parliament is going to descend. It will descend on a town. Maybe what they are looking at, that maybe when they go to those regional meetings, the hotels are going to get money. Maybe that's another way of redistributing some resources, but that's an issue which we need also to discuss.
And also to our dear viewer, please do note the reason behind Joel Senyonyi, the Honorable Joel Senyonyi, beg your pardon, who is the current leader of opposition, saying that they do not want to join these regional sittings is simply because of the money that is likely to be spent during these meetings, or the money that was agreed to be spent during these regional sittings. It is believed that the money will be 5 billion per sitting. 4 of these regions will be covered. The northern region that will have Gulu, and then in the eastern region the sitting will be hosted in Mbale City. Then in Western region, that will be in Mbarara, and in the Central region, it will be hosted in Masaka. Again, one would wonder why the Central region, yet Parliament is also in the Central region. That is a question I will leave for you to answer as well, our viewer. But 20 billion Ugandan shillings is something that will be up for to be used during the entire sittings or the regional sittings by Parliament. But that aside, from the side of Parliament, let's now drive this conversation to the traders. Over the past few weeks again, the government has been calling for dialogue as the alternative solution instead of the people hitting the streets to demonstrate. I don't know from your side of things whether you feel there are other alternative solutions that can be availed, because these peaceful demonstrations are what the people of Uganda feel, or are what some of the people of Uganda feel should be the way forward. The other side of things, government feels room for dialogue is the most diplomatic way and the most peaceful of them all.
Yeah, dialogue is important. You know, Ugandans are very peaceful people. You compare what happened in Kenya and what's happening in Uganda, given that the economic situation is not any different, but Ugandans are very peaceful people. So dialogue is okay, you know, but dialoguing over what? That would be very important. What do we dialogue on? The economy is not working. Things are not going on very well. So that dialogue, let us agree on what are we going to, you know, what's the dialogue going to be about. Maybe for the traders, their points were clear. You know, maybe if freeze, let it be suspended for some time, let people be taught what to do. Those are clear, you know. But there is also a national dialogue about the economy. You know, most people, when they hear about a national dialogue, it's about politics, UPC and DP and all that. But we need a dialogue about the economy, how we are using our resources, how we are growing our economy, what needs to be done. That's a dialogue which is really, which we need. So a dialogue is okay. I am not saying not to a dialogue. And for me, I wouldn't also, demonstrations, I think, are the last resort.
When things have failed.
When so many things have failed, people demonstrate. But again, demonstrations are not also bad, you know.
Most of the peaceful ones.
Yeah, peaceful, you know. So let us have peaceful demonstrations, which are okay. But there are also reasons why our demonstrations also go violent. Let us look at that. But demonstrations are also a way of letting off pressure. Let people have their placards, let them say what they want to say, but let government also address those issues. But as a way forward, alternatives, the whole issue is an economic issue which has turned into a social problem.
Well, I have a comment coming in from Yusuf from Nasara, who says he's sure the big problem is the system of collecting lots of taxes from poor people, yet some government officials are taking or are misusing the money. And he says that this is seriously likely to hit us in the long run for God and my country.
Yeah, it's there is a, like I said, there is a perception when it comes to taxes that the taxes are too many. Yeah, but again, I call upon Ugandans to be able to participate in the tax bills. Government every year puts it on the table that this is what we are going to tax. So they should have that conversation. Don't tax this, tax that. But Yusuf has raised the issue of systems. Systems are important, and in Uganda systems are also breaking down. Take an example of the whole issue of corruption. Everybody, we are now asking the president. The president should intervene. The president should intervene. You know, but the systems should be working. For the traders, there is a Ministry of Trade. why isn't the Ministry of Trade addressing those issues? You know, if they can't, it goes to Parliament. There is a committee on trade, you know. So the systems, let systems work. And that's a big problem. Systems have broken down, you know, and that's why, again, we go back to the whole issue of corruption. Systems are not working, you know. So Yusuf has raised a very important issue, but also has raised the issue of the misuse of resources, you know. You know, when you are poor, I hear people talking about, you know, people who live on mizigo, those
The
rentals.
rentals.
And they are saying it's not good to rent on a mizigo when your landlord, your landlady is also
Is
part
in the
of
same
that
premises.
same. Because if you haven't paid your rent and you buy
You're just
meat,
next door.
you buy
Yeah,
meat,
you're
it's
next
a
door.
problem. You know, so when you are in an economic squeeze, even somebody who is driving at a womb is a problem. You know, that, you know.
No, we've actually reached a situation where if you're working for government and you're getting money rightfully or through the rightful means, people will definitely say you're corrupt because of the system that has already been disorganized.
You are eating our money. And that's why one time there is a member of Parliament who was saying, let us talk about this issue of corruption, because that in the villages, all members of Parliament are corrupt. They see you like, Mr. Songo, you are putting on that nice suit, you are a member of Parliament, you are corrupt.
You're called honorable, but now honorable has changed the entire meaning.
Exactly. You know, so that perception of corruption, misuse of resources it's ingrained among the people.
Okay. And over the years, the government has been putting up or coming up with efforts to ensure that they uphold household incomes. We've seen different fights against corruption. Even the march, there was also a march to put an end to corruption, which also involved the head of state. And well, we've seen these efforts coming in. As we are finalizing with our conversation this morning, which is not even a conversation that comes to an end really, what would be your suggestions in regards to the policies that will take us to economic stability, that will at least be an opener of some change that we want to see in our economy?
Yeah, maybe one thing which we haven't really talked about when we are talking about the issue of the economy is the external factors. Because as economies don't operate in the vacuum, you know, there are external issues which are affecting our economy. And also, if we are to reorganize and strengthen our economy, we need to be mindful of what's going on. For example, the regional trade, it's important for us, but we need to see how to reorganize it, you know, to be intentional on how we participate in that regional trade. Today, there are processes going on, by the way, globally. There is the Summit of the Future, which is going to sit in New York. There is a Financing for Development Conference, which is their preparatory meeting, and our Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been part of it. And one thing they are saying is that the global system, the global economic and financial system is not working for us as poor countries. Because you see, there are challenges which we see today, like now the debt, the loans we are getting. When you look at the loans we are getting, we are paying more interest rate than the developed countries. So there are those challenges which are coming from outside, which we need to address. Another example is that when we are locked into the global traders, exporters of raw commodities. Again, that's an issue which we can't address here wholly as Uganda alone. We have to look at the global system. So again, what I want to ask again our leaders, our members of Parliament, that they should be more open, more understanding of the global system, and be able to put resources towards that also. And I want also to talk about the Ministry of Trade. Ministry of Trade negotiates for us all these markets, negotiates these agreements under the Continental Free Trade Area. But again, the resources they have, very limited. Very limited. So again, we go back on how to reorganize our economy, looking at where should we be putting our resources so that we can. For me, I'm really hopeful about this country, that if we put our house in order, be able to put the resources where they should be, within no time, all these demonstrations won't be there, because the young people will be like you, putting on very nice suit and having jobs.
Okay. And well, to our dear viewer, wherever you've been catching us from, thank you very much because we cover all the parts of the country. And pleasure has been ours having the ED of Siatini this morning. As we're heading out, someone once said that in this country, you're only one medicine bill away to poverty. So at times you get to realize why everything ends up affecting all of us. You may have a very nice paycheck at the end of the day or at the end of the month, but what will happen
when
you no longer have that job? Because in the long run, you're going to go back to the same system that you are proud of at the time. So meaning accountability is something that all of us should be taking part of in one way or the other, because the economy automatically runs everything within the country. It powers the politics and the politicians. It also makes sure that the society we are living in is welcoming and very hospitable. Because with the growing, isolated cases of robbery, you get to realize that most of the robbers are doing so simply because of the conditions under which they live in. Our conversation has been looking at the situations dealing with the anti-corruption demonstrations, and of course also the other demonstrations that have been rocking the country in the past month, including one of those coming in from the interns in regards to delayed deployment, and then the traders, the Kampala traders, or under their different association groups, the most dominant one being Kampala City Traders Association. I am Joram Paul Sonko and the entire team of Good Morning Uganda. Thank you very much for being part. We wish you a good day. I've been having the ED Siatini, Uganda, that is Miss Jen Nalunga, who has been joining us. And it has been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Joram. It was a good conversation.
And to you, our dear viewer, have yourself a good day, a good hunting day. Make some good money today and be blessed. Good morning.